Thank you everybody for coming. Today we're going to be talking about the evolution of SEO, kind of where things were and where they're going to be and where they are today. So what I'll walk you through is first the definition of SEO, what it really is, a little bit about how often it changes and why it's important to keep on top of that, some of the benefits of SEO, and then we'll jump into an SEO then versus now, again, where it was and where it is today and how the tactics apply to that. We'll dive into content, link building, design, user experience, local SEO, and voice search. Then we'll finish by summing everything up and open it up to questions. So what is SEO? Does anybody know what it stands for? All right, so we're getting somewhere already. We know it's search engine optimization, and search engine optimization is the process of maximizing the number of visitors to a particular website by ensuring that the site appears high on the list of results returned by a search engine. It's often referred to as organic, natural, and unpaid, different from pay-per-click if you're familiar with that. This is a free-ish effort. So why is SEO important? Why is ranking on Google important? Well, it turns out there's a lot of questions out there. Some Google search statistics is over 63 searches per second, 3.8 million searches per minute, 228 million searches per hour, 5.6 billion searches per day, and 2 trillion searches per year. So people have a lot of questions. It's important to answer those questions from a business perspective because you can claim that spot in Google and get revenue from that. So it's not enough to just rank on Google or on Bing or on search results. You really have to rank high on those spots. So number 1 result gets 33% of clicks. 1 through 5 results gets 67% of clicks. And the first page gets 75% of clicks. So as someone mentioned before, if you're on page 9, you're not really getting much exposure at all. You're not getting many clicks. So it's important to rank well for a variety of different terms, as you'll see later on. So why is SEO kind of an ongoing effort? Why is it not just a set it up and forget it? So Google changes its algorithm 500 to 600 times a year. That's more than once a day. A lot of these things are smaller changes. So if you guys are familiar with searching on Google and getting those results, the blue links are the titles. Underneath that is the meta descriptions. And one small change would be, updating that meta description from 160 characters to 320 characters. Another update would be going back to 160 characters. So you really have to stay on top of, Google's methods, and it changes very frequently. So in addition to those minor changes, there's a handful of major updates every year. So some of these major updates would be, it used to be desktop focused. What you created on your desktop was indexed on Google, meaning that Google would use your desktop to rank that content on their website. Now, it's more mobile focused, which makes sense as there's the rise of mobile devices. So as devices evolve, so do the way that people search. Some of the benefits of SEO, as we kind of discussed, it's increasing relevant organic traffic to the site. So it's not important just to increase your numbers. We'll talk about metrics a little bit. I'm sure you'll have questions about that as well. But it's not important. It's not okay to get just higher numbers in traffic. You need relevant searches. What that does is it helps increase conversion rates. So getting relevant users to your site will get them to convert. You're getting people who are interested in your content and hopefully will buy, what you're selling. The more that people are searching for your brand increases brand awareness. So if you're showing up on the top of Google, top of Bing, that's increasing brand awareness. Also, we create landing pages for lead generation. If you have an e-commerce business, you'll see an example later on, speed specific, that really enhances the ability to sell your products. It can be pretty significant. SEO is also a long-term solution. You'll see in a little bit some examples. You can create content that lasts a long time. So one piece of content, for instance, can generate a lot of residual income and residual traction as you continue on. So the last benefit of SEO is kind of funny. It's free-ish. So I don't necessarily work for free, but you're not paying other than the person to manage your account. So you're not, like a pay-per-click campaign where you have to have ad spend in addition to what you're, paying someone to manage that. You don't have to do that with SEO. It's really more natural, organic, and unpaid. So now we'll jump into SEO then and now in a series of 5 topics. So content. What is content and what are we talking about from an SEO standpoint? Content is really anything that's on your website from a words perspective, text, images, video, anything that is, relating to that. So how did that used to be? Well, it used to be a single and few keywords approach, something we call short tail. So the term, as you can see from the picture, red sneakers, for example, would be a short tail keyword. You're just targeting red sneakers. It's only a couple of words. And how you used to rank well for that was really just a quantity perspective. However many times you could mention red sneakers in content, even if it sounded unnatural, you would actually do well for. You'll see an example in a second of just that. We refer to that as keyword stuffing. So again, sheer volume would allow you to rank well. It didn't matter the quality of your content. Just as long as you mentioned red sneakers enough, you would rank well for it. So essentially you'd be writing for search engines rather than what you'll see later is writing for users. There was less importance on quality and relevance. Again, really just a quantity thing. And then you could also have multiple pages optimized for the same keyword. That speaks to the quantity again. Nowadays, you really just have one specific page that talks about your content and your specific keyword. Here, if you had a page for red sneakers, a second page for red sneakers, a third page for red sneakers, you would actually rank well for that. Versus now, they're actually competing with each other and splitting that equity. So here's an example of what used to actually rank well. Redsneakers.com is the best place to shop for a variety of red sneakers for boys and girls. You can absolutely get your desired red sneakers on redsneakers.com. So that's kind of funny, but it's true also. That used to rank well, even though in a short paragraph it says red sneakers 4 times. So you can see what used to work and how it is today. So switching from more of a quantity perspective to more of a quality standpoint, content now is more search intent and user needs focused. So you're really trying to answer a user's questions. Red sneakers really isn't sufficient when you're talking about that. So are you looking to buy red sneakers? Are you looking to sell red sneakers? There's different reasons why people would be searching for red sneakers. So you have to provide value to these users to avoid what we call pogo sticking. Pogo sticking is when you search for something, you go to that website and essentially bounce from that and go back to the search results and try to search again. So if you're not providing value to users, that's actually a measurement in Google Analytics, called a bounce rate, where people are leaving your site after not finding anything. We also do more extensive keyword research, which you'll see on the next page in an example. Rather than just doing, monthly search volume, you'll incorporate other terms or other factors such as difficulty and then intent. Again, are they buying? Are they selling? What are they doing? So also, this introduces something called long tail keywords. You heard about short tail keywords, which were just, red sneakers, but long tail keywords are more words that still end up being a keyword. So best red sneakers for running is an actual keyword. Even though it's a phrase, it's a keyword. And that ends up being a more targeted keyword too. It might have less search volume, as you'll see, but it ends up being something that people will likely convert more on. So when you have those long tail keywords, you end up answering those questions in long form content. You can answer a variety of different questions, and in addition to just text, include video, audio, and images. So it used to be kind of just text-based. Whatever quantity of text got you the best result would work. Now you have to introduce video, audio, and images to keep the user on the page and rank better. Couple statistics. The average first page result on Google contains just under 2,000 words. So that long form content is not only necessary, it's popular. People are actually reading what you're writing on an average, and that's what Google's rewarding you for. and also 50% of search queries are 4 words or longer. So long tail keywords are more popular, or they're at least as popular as the short tail keywords. So here's an example of content and how we would kind of approach it at Liquid. You know, if someone came to us and said, we want to rank for red sneakers. We don't really rank for individual keywords anymore. We do more clusters because it helps overall performance instead of just one specific term. That's really hard to pinpoint. But so we would, at first put in the term red sneakers and see that 12,000 number is the amount of searches per month. So it's the highest out of what you see right now. But again, it doesn't really paint that picture of what people are really interested in. Red sneakers could be, ranking for a number of different reasons. So introducing factors like price, locality, size, or even a brand name will lower the search volume, as you see from like adding red Nike sneakers or sneakers for women, red Nike sneakers for men. The search volume is a lot less, but it's more targeted. Somebody that's searching for red Nike sneakers may be more ready to buy than someone who is looking for just red sneakers on its own. Link building. So link building is an off-page tactic that really talks about you producing content or having an authoritative website and people are linking back to you. So if you produce some type of content that is noteworthy, people will then say, hey, this is what I want to link back to. And from Google's standpoint, that's how you build authority. So how did it used to be? Kind of similar to content. It was strictly a numbers game. It was that quantity again. So it didn't matter what type of links you got. It could, again, with that red sneakers example, if you were selling red sneakers and you got a backlink from a grocery store, that would count. Towards you. It would say, okay, this person's getting links from grocery stores. This is good. Someone's interested in that content. You could also get spammy links, kind of like I just talked about, by purchasing them. There used to be link farms that you could just purchase thousands of links saying, hey, I want these links to go back to my website. I'm paying you for that. Send them my way. And again, just by the sheer number of links that you got, Google would say, hey, people are linking to this site. It must be interesting. It must be valuable. There also used to be random directories. You'll see in some of the local examples. Even with that grocery example, though, if you're getting a backlink from something that doesn't make sense, it was just a quantity thing back then, and that worked. Now it has to be more relevant than that. And you used to be able to get links from commenting on other people's articles. So you would read someone's article that was interesting, and you could say, hey, that's great, check out my content. And that would count as a positive backlink. So how is it different today? Really, it goes again from that quantity perspective to the quality perspective. So earning links through quality content. You'll see in the next page example, you can create one piece of content and generate over 1 million links. If you're answering people's questions correctly, Google will reward you for that. So some other ways to do that are really getting involved in the community. We got a backlink from Easy Micro linking to our site. We're doing things in the community, doing newsworthy things. And in addition to that, instead of just banking on creating content and having people link back to you, you can perform what we call outreach, literally reaching out to people saying, hey, there's actually a tactic called brand mentions where you're mentioned on a website and not getting that link. We have a tool that allows us to see all of that, and you can go to those people and say, hey, you wrote about us, but you didn't link to us. Can you just include this link, and then that counts as a backlink. In addition to all those tactics, you can actually disavow toxic links. What that means is if you got those spammy links in the past, or links from someone that has a low quality website or something you're not interested in, you can say to Google or any search engine, we're not interested in these links. Disavow means we're not interested in that. And you can unclaim them essentially. And then the stat is Google confirmed in 2016, so a little outdated at this point, that the link building is one of the 2 most important ranking factors. So again, just kind of reiterating here, if you have a lot of quality backlinks, it's a way for Google to measure and say this website is an authority in its space, and that's how we confirm it. So this is the example. It's a animated infographic, which is not too common, but it's really interesting. So the long tail keyword would be how a car engine works. Someone would be searching that, they get this first, and it would be a really interesting piece of content that clearly is engaging to many people. So this piece of content generated over 1 million backlinks, which is huge. I mean, that's really like unprecedented and something that's not too common, but it just goes to show you that writing content and in interesting ways will result in this ongoing effort. Design and user experience. So this is talking about how your website looks and functions. So we have how it used to be, something I don't know if anybody recognizes, but a very old eBay. It's so talking about design, how it used to be, unresponsive sites or sites for each device. So way back, there weren't even mobile phones, there weren't tablets, so there was really just one website. But as that started to change, there would still be 3 separate sites. There would be a site for mobile, one for tablet, one for desktop. You make a change on desktop, you have to change on the other devices too. So it wasn't really synced up. The other difference is once we got those devices kind of out there, it was still desktop prioritized, meaning that Google looked at your desktop website to say, this is the content we're going to rank, this is how we're using that. You'll see in a second that has changed. Unclear and complex navigation. As you can see from the eBay example, it was kind of okay from a SEO standpoint to have really unclear navigation. All those categories would help you rank well back then. Even though users might not actually be clicking on them today, it wouldn't work. And then aesthetics and additional features outweighed performance. So think of a website that has large images on a slider that looks very nice, but slows down your site. Back then, that wasn't really an issue. So how has it changed today? Well, speed is a major ranking factor. So if you think about it from just a logical perspective, if your site takes 10 seconds to load, it doesn't really matter how nice it is. People aren't patient, they're not waiting for that, so speed is now part of the factors. Responsive design has changed as well. So now you have one site for all your devices. You change it on one site and it syncs up automatically. Mobile first approach. So this has changed from what was a desktop first approach. So it used to be that desktop was most common and Google would look at your desktop site. Now they actually introduce mobile first because of the rise of mobile devices, and people are spending more time on mobile than they are on desktop in a lot of cases. Simple and clear navigation just makes sense. From a metric standpoint, if we're measuring average time on page and that kind of stuff, having simple and clear navigation allows for users to find what they're looking for easier. And something called conversion rate optimization. This is introduced now because tracking or conversion rate optimization is something where you can test what your website is doing. So maybe you want to introduce a new color for a contact button. Maybe red is better than green in some cases. You can test that and see if users are responding better to that, and that's a factor of design today. A couple stats that are pretty interesting and usable. On average, a 1-second delay in load time leads to 7% reduction in conversions and sales. So speed is a tangible thing that you can improve, and it actually affects your bottom line. 53% of mobile site visits leave a page that takes longer than 3 seconds to load. So 3 seconds isn't really that long. 4 seconds, people are leaving your site. So here's a pretty tangible example of just how important speed is from a design perspective, from an SEO perspective. So we took kind of a hypothetical example here of a page, an e-commerce site that takes 4.7 seconds to load. We're assuming in this example that they get about 100,000 average monthly visitors. Out of that 100,000 monthly visitors, 2% converts, which is not crazy high. And when they do convert, meaning that they're buying something, the average order value is $100. In this hypothetical example, if we could get the website, just speed, down to from 4.7 seconds down to 2 seconds, they would potentially increase an annual revenue of over $200,000. That's real numbers. So they would really see a huge benefit. And if you think about it, from an investment standpoint, if someone is saying, I know speed's an issue, but we can't really afford to fix it. Well, this is something that changes that, because by fixing it, you'll end up getting, revenue in return. Local SEO is really the same as SEO, just on a geographical level. So how did local SEO used to be? It didn't really used to be anything. It's relatively new. But from a platform standpoint, there were really just fewer to choose from. You really didn't have more than Google My Business, for instance. And local listings were less integrated into the results. So when you would search for, pizza places near me, it wouldn't necessarily show up in the results the way it does today. So how is it today? Well, now with the rise of mobile phones, I'm sure you guys use these as much as anybody else. Locality is a top ranking factor, so it's important to be found quickly on Google. There's also more relevant directories, meaning that Yelp is just one directory, but now we have a tool that has typically over 100 directories that are applicable to any given industry at any given time. Reviews, it's important from a quantity, quality, and response perspective. So when people are searching for you, one way to rank higher is to have a number of reviews, a number of good reviews, and actually some bad reviews that you respond to. So having negative reviews is not a bad thing as long as you respond to them. And what this all does is really allow small businesses the ability to compete on a global level. A stat here is 72% of consumers who did a local search visited a store within 5 miles. So it's pretty important to rank locally because it ends up being a conversion rate piece as well. Ooh. So here's a couple examples, or one example of good and bad local SEO. This is a Google My Business listing for each, for two places. I left off the name for the bad one, so no one needs to know what that is. But really, if you look at the details, they have one review. It's a negative review. They didn't respond to it. They have their address, phone number. They don't have any business hours. They don't have really anything, so it's completely under-optimized. And what I mean by that, if you look at the good example, is, Liquid has has 9 reviews. They're all positive. We respond to them. We have our address. We have our hours there, phone number. We have the ability to make appointments, which is just a link that anybody can do. And because our reviews are positive, they've, I don't know if it's because they're positive or just because we have enough of them, but they've populated into the actual Google My Business listing. Wonderful company to work with. This is something that is populating on its own. And I didn't have enough room in this screenshot, but we also have our social profiles on there as well. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, those are all things that give users a picture of what the company is like, and it just enhances trust overall versus something like the bad example that really doesn't have much information. Voice search, something we're all becoming more familiar with the introduction of these devices. So there is no then for voice search because it just didn't exist. This is relatively new with the introduction of Amazon Alexa, Google Home, Apple Siri, Microsoft's Cortana. So when we're talking about voice search, we're talking about really the same way that you've searched before, but instead of typing, you're talking. What that presents is more of these long tail keyword opportunities. What are the best sneakers for running? That's something you might ask your phone and get a result for. So when crafting your content, you're optimizing for who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are the keywords that are important, or the start of the keywords that are important, because that's how you're naturally speaking versus just typing in. And then a chance or something that helps you rank well for voice search is something called structured data. So implementing structured data is important, and what it is essentially organized information. So it could be the answer to, what are the best sneakers for running. It could be a top 10 list of what those, what those answers are. And then what's interesting about voice search is you're not getting those 10 options that you're used to when you type in. So you're really just getting what Google calls position 0. It's before those lists of 10 links, so you're only getting one shot. So crafting your content appropriately is important.
Is that like when you search something on Google that's like a question with an answer, and how Google auto-populates the actual answer? So
Right.
It's the same concept?
Yep.
Just like an auto-populated list in the actual like Google search, like under where you'd search but before links would actually populate?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's called position 0 by Google. So it's before you get to the 10 links. Yep.
So you wouldn't have the time or ability to make all of your content, that Q&A list. I guess you would just pick like your, number 1 or 2 like keywords you want to rank for, or what would you recommend? Like
Whatever content's performing well, I guess I would say. So whatever you're trying to sell. So do you have a specific example of what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, we're an accounting firm, so no one press here to buy accounting services.
Right.
So, we have content that ranks well, but we generally don't have lists. And so I'd have to position my blogs, I guess, to make them into a
One thing I would say is that
list if they could be,
voice search, it is still relatively new. I wouldn't say it's applicable to everybody. You'll see in a couple minutes, like some examples of it. Really one thing you can do is just put your name, address, and phone number consistently across the internet so that picks up. So, maybe they're not looking for specific services on voice search, but if they're looking for directions or something, they could say, locate, where is your business located? And that might populate in search results for voice search. So another statistic, this is why this is important, 50% of all searches will be voice searches by 2020. So it's definitely a trend that is on the rise. I anticipate that number will continue to go up as these devices are popular.
That's a high number.
Yeah.
That's like a few months away.
Yeah, right? So
Just out of curiosity, do you know what the number is at, like the percentage right now of searches that are voice searches?
I don't know today, no. But like you said, we're not too far off from 2020. Yeah. So some voice search examples, things you may be familiar with that you could, maybe apply to your specific business. Alexa, what's the temperature outside right now? What's the best pizza place near me? Hopefully Zio's is your answer. Shopping, how much do red sneakers actually cost? And then something that you can all apply, not specifically when Costco's open, but when is your business open? So let's sum things up. What are the takeaways from today? Well, it's generally turned from quantity to quality. It's now more important from a quality perspective. Speed, as you saw, is really important. Users are impatient and want instant gratification, and that can actually affect your numbers. Value, provide useful information that users questions, not search engines questions, but users questions. Intention, put yourself in the searcher's shoes, anticipate what they're actually searching for and answer those specific questions versus general questions. Trends, stay current by reading articles and forums. Things are changing, as you guys saw, so it's important to stay on top of that. So where do we go from here? Well, from a content perspective, what's your keyword research strategy? Local, have you claimed your Google My Business listing? Voice search, are you optimizing for long tail keywords? Link building, do you know how many quality backlinks you have? And from a design user experience perspective, how fast is your website? If you don't know the answers to all of those questions, Liquid can help you. Any questions? I'm sorry.
Google updates, like you said at the beginning, there's 500 updates a year. How do you get informed about that? Where and how do you sift through which ones are actually meaningful to you and not go crazy?
Yeah, so there's
your own strategy 500 times a year.
So I would just say trusted sites that you can Google search, say like Google search updates. We use Search Engine Journal quite a bit, and they're usually on top of that. Also, some of our tools will notify us of Google updates. So I don't know if you're familiar with SEMrush, but they actually tell you, there's volatility in search engine result pages. Yep.
You mentioned negative online reviews earlier as it relates to SEO.
Sure.
So this is a non-SEO question though. With your clients that you work with, if they're a mom and pop shop or just a regional business that gets a negative review beyond responding to it, any advice you can share for how to get rid of a negative review or bury a negative review, or is it just not?
So you actually shouldn't do that. Like, it's actually the best thing you can do is respond positively to it. So actually by suppressing it and trying to get rid of it, it seems unnatural to Google. Like, who has no negative reviews? So it's actually better to keep it and respond to it positively, and you'll be rewarded for that.
I guess on that same topic, with some, I'll call it either third party or even like fourth party review sites, especially in the medical field.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of professionals don't like seeing those negative reviews at all.
Sure.
And I'm not sure if you agree with me on this strategy, but to actually extricate some of those negative reviews, because on a lot of these review sites, you can't respond to a review.
Okay.
Like with Google, it's very friendly, let's interact, let's try to find
Sure.
common ground. But what I've done is I've had a legal professional reach out and almost quote unquote use a scare tactic saying, I've researched or I've reviewed your terms of service, X review falls outside of that line, using profanity, using 1, 2, 3 examples, and usually the third or fourth party reviewer, they get scared and they don't want to have to deal with it.
Right.
So
Sure.
They strip it down. So, I mean, do you agree with that tactic, or is that a little aggressive?
I mean, me personally, I don't know if I would do that, but I suppose if it works on that, I mean, I'm really speaking from a Google perspective.
Right, this is like your down in the gutter, like review
Yeah.
site out of Colorado or.
I have to see it case by case, but I don't know that would be effective. If you want to get rid of the negative reviews, I suppose that's helpful. But like I said, it's important to have negative reviews also, even though I understand your perspective.
There's certainly ways you can help encourage more positive reviews. If you, maybe it's at some point in someone's purchase, there's a link over to any of your review sites, and once they've you've confirmed maybe they received whatever you're selling, or maybe employees, if you're trying to get more reviews around, employees of yours. It's like when they're have their work anniversary every year, but kind of like look for those organic places to encourage people to jump over to any of your review sites. That can kind of help maybe push some of those negative ones down.
Well, even what I've encouraged some clients to do is actually have a very, very approachable, almost either verbal or written script saying, thanks for utilizing our service. We really, quote unquote, appreciate your feedback. Please review us on Google. Please review
Right.
us on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And that does help sometimes to
Sure.
cultivate and pad positive reviews.
Yeah.
How do you review a site? Where do you go to say the sites?
On Google, there's an opportunity on Google, especially with the Google My Business listings. If you search for a business, again, any business, there's an opportunity to leave a review just right on there.
What do you just, on the site itself?
Not even on the site, in the Google listing. So if you search for any business, Easy Micro, a Google My Business listing will appear that has their information like I showed. And in that panel, you can say, it says leave a review.
Okay.
I was shopping for a service for William, and this one particular business had an impressive amount of reviews, pages and pages, and 4.5, 5 stars and everything. But just like Ben, you indicated, like every 5 pages or something, there was like a really
Yeah.
bad, my dog almost died because of you review or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And I noticed that every time that happened, it was like you said, there was this immediate response of what they would do and whatever, and then there was an outcome. I think they asked, after taking care of the dissatisfied customer.
Has your issue been resolved, or?
Then the
Yeah.
customer, after writing this really bad thing, writes, oh, they did this and this, and now I'm happy. So
Right.
It's more real,
Exactly.
and it's like you say,
Yeah.
doesn't
Google's smart enough at this point to know that no business has all 5-star reviews. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's suspicious, quite frankly, if you have 500 5-star reviews and no negative ones.
Right.
So it's really helpful to respond to the negative reviews.
Just as a consumer, it didn't stop me from doing business with them because
Right.
it seemed real. It was just like, oh, okay.
Exactly, and
They
that's
seem to
yeah,
respond and fix it, and yeah.
sure.
And just to add to that, keep in mind that like other people see how you respond. So if you're responding, they're like, oh, at least they're responding.
Right.
You can also, what I do is I try to take it offline. I'm sorry, I apologize for the experience we had in our office. If you'd like to talk directly to a co-manager, here's the direct extension. And
Right.
try to take that offline, because you don't want to have an argument with the client
Yeah,
online.
for sure.
And then people that are going to that review
Right.
see how you treat your customers.
But at the end of that, you could do the ask, right? Say, oh, if you're
Offline?
happy, yeah, if you're
Thank
Sure.
you, yeah, please
would
go
you,
if you,
would you mind?
and it's nice
Yeah.
to have it offline so no one kind of can see the negative.
Yeah,
Because
Right.
sometimes you can't always
solve
solve
it. Yeah,
the situation.
for sure.
How does Google know what your keyword is? I use Yoast on my site and insert the keyword into where they ask to put it. Does that tip off Google, or do they just know by a search that's looking for that term, and you show up because of that?
So can you ask that one more time? Make sure I understand it.
Yeah, I mean, we all have keywords, and we write a lot of articles, so we put a keyword in there. And I'm just curious, how does Google know that that's the keyword I'm using? There might be a lot of repeating phrases and stuff in that article, but I want to rank for a particular keyword. How does Google know which one is the right one?
So it's basically just really based on their algorithm, which isn't public. Like I couldn't answer how you're ranking for a specific term. Really just the best shot you have is writing natural long form content that you search, answers to questions. So if you're answering someone's questions, that's how you're going to rank.
Can people still insert keywords to the back end of your site, or does Google not recognize that anymore?
So they not only don't recognize it, there's a penalty against it. So what you're referring to is meta keywords that you used to be able to just kind of put whatever keywords you wanted behind the scenes and rank well for that. Now it's a negative to do so, and if you have meta keywords, we actually remove them.
Even if they apply to the content of the site, they still...
It's just an old practice that doesn't exist anymore, and you can get dinged for if you have them.
So why do a lot of the platforms like WordPress and Squarespace still offer
Meta keywords.
areas for you to put that information in? And I'd heard that
Yeah.
they're no longer relevant, that you can be penalized for it.
I think they're just behind the times in that sense. I mean, so we take a natural approach. We don't use any of those platforms, just to be transparent with you,
Right.
for part of that reason.
Well, they're for people to set up their own websites.
Sure.
The person can have a really nice site using these.
Yeah, but from an SEO standpoint, they might not have the same chance at ranking well because of tools like that the average person won't know is actually a negative against them.
So you're saying that Google is just very intuitive these days as opposed to more of a robotic?
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, 100%. And even with, I don't know much about machine learning or marketing automation, but just from reading enough about, Google's then and now, it's not robotic anymore.
So if you've got a really crummy site, Google can sense it automatically.
You just won't rank well for
Well,
for
yes,
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
Be it slow or half the data's not there.
Yeah, you'll find it.
It'll automatically sense it and put you way down.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Do you have a sense of how effective adding animation, just animation, to the site, to video or an image, how significant is that? Because I've heard a lot of people recently talking about just tweaking and adding some animation,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure how much value.
Well, so I I don't have like a specific statistic, but what I can tell you is like from that example, I'm sure part of the reason that car example generated 1 million backlinks is because it was interesting more so than just like a static image. And beyond SEO, even though this is kind of an SEO metric, you know, just average time on page, if people are watching something versus just seeing it quickly, it's going to help you in the search results. So I don't have a specific statistic, but I would say if you use it, you know, in an intelligent way and not overuse it, it would be helpful.
And you've seen a trend?
Yeah.
With more and more?
That's why it goes from like we mentioned in the first slides, you know, just text-based image or text-based examples to video, audio, images, all that stuff is really important now.
Did you say that if you use WordPress or some other platforms, they're rated less with Google, or did I misunderstand?
No, that's somewhat true. We actually have an experiment where we're you know, sampling you know, our own, you know, kind of custom approach versus someone else's, you know, Wix or WordPress you know, platform. And just from our initial research, you won't rank as well by using those platforms for really a number of reasons. One is it's already inherently slower. So we talked about speed a little bit. Just by using those programs, there's already stuff on top of, you know, just from them creating the website in their platform. It's going to be slower than if you do it, you know, a custom approach.
Yeah, and we recognize, you know, there's certainly instances in which you would need or want to
Right.
leverage one of those, and you know, I guess our caution would be watching the different plugins you're adding or
True.
tools within the platform you're kind of stacking on top of each other, and you know, maybe put a little bit of time and research into how you might be able to you know, kind of avoid that and maybe try some things on your own.
Yeah.
With that, our site is WordPress, and we have the Yoast plugin for SEO. And
Sure.
I understand you don't want to do, like, for example, for us, you know, tax services for manufacturers, you know, like just list 1,000 different services. But do you want to put in like one long-term keyword tail?
No, you could do it per page is what I would recommend. So a different page should have a variety, like a different page should.
Their own keyword.
Yeah,
and
you need.
only one, not 70 or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So you want to fill out your meta descriptions.
Yep, no, that's fine. And to be clear, you do want to fill out meta descriptions. You don't want to add meta keywords. Those are two different things. So a meta description is when you're used to seeing a result on Google, you see the blue link as the title. Underneath that is a meta description. Those aren't ranking factors, but they help with click-through rate. So you do want to fill that out, just not meta keywords, which is a list of keywords that is an old practice.
Can I ask about, so, you know, we write on general topics, you know, tax planning for manufacturers, but ideally, probably manufacturers that are gonna work with us are within 30 miles of our office.
Okay.
We don't necessarily wanna put like, here's tax plan ideas for manufacturers in the Lehigh Valley and like stack that in there, because, you know, I don't know, we might attract someone in Reading, we might attract someone in New Jersey.
Sure.
But then how do you, because we have some articles that we get a lot of hits on, but then sometimes it's someone out in, you know, any other state, and not that
Right.
they're not gonna engage us, but they're probably not gonna engage us. So what's the balance of, you know, you don't wanna necessarily just write your content to a certain geographical region.
Sure. No, I would test it actually. I would include that Lehigh Valley term, give it, you know, 6 months to see how it performs. And if you're getting more leads from that, great. If not, remove it.
So you can just change an article and throw in Lehigh Valley a couple times to different things?
Yeah, we repurpose content for sure. Yeah.
I mean, you rewrite it.
Not,
totally.
I wouldn't say the whole thing, but
Okay.
yeah. I mean, repurposing is using kind of the guts of it, but adjusting terms.
So, in terms of like Google My Business, occasionally Google will like pull information offline. Like sometimes there's like third-party review sites and things like that,
Sure.
and sometimes that information isn't correct.
Yeah.
And it'll automatically change your Google My Business. How like aside from checking like every day,
Yeah.
because sometimes like I've checked and suddenly all the hours of operation are different and our website
Really?
is different in some cases, and then the phone number goes to a different location or something. So like, as outside of checking every day, is there a way to basically tell Google like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've edited this 30 times so far, back to the original.
I guess my question there would be, are you sure that you've claimed the listing and you're not just submitting similar to how they are differently? So to make sure you've claimed it is important, because I think once you've claimed it, I don't know that others, I think they can suggest edits, but I don't think they can make like hard.
Approve the suggestion,
Right.
like some
somebody would show,
Yeah.
hey, this came up, you have an email from Google Business, and it'll say, oh, somebody wants to change your number to this. Do you want to approve or deny? And you should be able to control that.
Right.
And generally it comes up as just like a line through what we already had, and here's the new information we're plugging in.
In that case, it sounds like you haven't claimed the listing correctly. So that's good news. Yeah.
That happened with us when we were on the second floor and another business was on the first floor, and that's where we got into problems.
Got it.
Oh, wow, okay.
Like, we're not valued, that's not attached with color.
My question speaks to repurposing content. So if you've got content that you'd like to repurpose, whether it's, you know, it's popular, it's got a lot of hits, you wanna take it and kind of modernize it, do you suggest removing the old content? Cause I know removing pages from your site isn't good.
Right.
But at the same time, if you're trying to update, is it better to just do a part 2 or to, you know, what would you?
You can do a number of those things. So you can do a part 2 if the series is popular. I certainly wouldn't recommend removing a well-performing piece of content. That would do more harm than good. You can also update like that live post. So something we do at Liquid is like, I think every year we have like an SEO trend. So instead of saying SEO trends for 2018, we just keep it like kind of current SEO trends. The next year we'll update that same article. So it still has all that, you know, equity from before, but now it's also current again.
Along that same line, we've done that too. So you're changing the title to say, from the, you know, 2019 maybe to 2020.
Right.
That's gonna change your slug, and it's not gonna find it anymore. Do you do a 302?
So we don't change the slug. We purposely create one that doesn't have 2019 in it. So we're kind of, I guess, creative about it and say, make it more generic. That says, you know, current SEO trends, rather than current SEO trends 2018, which would, you know, force something to change the slug in 301, redirect it. Yeah.
What do you mean by slug?
Slug is the URL.
I have a question. We have tons of videos that we've created, just a little 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and they're performing very well on our social media.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think do you suggest that maybe we start putting that on our website? Now ours, it generates directly when you click through to our website. However, it goes to just general information about what the topic of the video is.
Okay.
That'll go directly to our a page on our website about that service.
Without the video?
Without the video.
Yeah, I don't see harm in adding the videos.
Would that slow the website speed?
Not if you do it correctly. I mean, there's sites that have videos that are just, they're optimized correctly, and you can embed them from YouTube or Vimeo, and that'll just help, most likely.
Because we have a blog section on our website.
Yeah.
That when we do a clip of just content on social media,
Mm-hmm.
it does generate to that blog. However, the video generates to the service. So do you think I should put it with the blogs?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And just keep that going there?
That would make sense. You can put it in both spots. If you're talking about YouTube videos,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can put it on.
Not just YouTube videos. We have just little clips that we post on our YouTube.
Okay.
And then just small enough for it to be approved, like on Facebook and
Okay.
Instagram.
Yeah, I would say, you know, keeping, you know, having the YouTube videos there and then embedding them on your site is something that will help.
So it's been mentioned, like, just try something out, like, for SEO purposes and see how it responds.
Sure.
Kind of like a trial and error situation.
Sure.
How long would you generally say, like, a trial and error period should last if you're not seeing something as like booming results within like a month, and not that results are going to explode like 10%
Sure.
or something, but like.
So I guess it would depend on what it is. From a content perspective, I think we usually give about 3 to 6 months to see how it's performing. If it's not performing after, you know, 6 months or so, we might adjust some things to that piece.
Just to follow up on that article question, when you repurpose it and change the date and the title, do you then change the published date to today's date, so it comes up in the blog at the top?
I don't know if we have published dates, but if we did, we would. You'd update the published date for sure. Yep. Because it's essentially a new piece of content at that point.
You had mentioned mobile first.
Yep.
What is included in mobile first? Obviously, phone, Does that include iPads?
No, it's really just your the mobile device, not the tablets. So they're looking at
So
the.
everything else is desktop then?
There's three categories. There's mobile, there's desktop, and there's tablet. What I mean by mobile first is that Google is looking at your mobile screen size and saying this is the content that I'm going to look to rank for, because most people are on mobile phones now, not on tablets, not on desktops.
I know we put a lot of emphasis on mobile.
Sure.
at one time.
Well, it's certainly important now, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.